let me tell you an example. Let me just share a personal anecdote here. So I put a lot of content out, and I talk a lot about my family, about license plates that I see on the road, sunset
your
pictures, like
Cybertrucks.
yeah, Cybertrucks, they're like, and it's some people are like, why do you like you're so annoying? Like, just stop it, right? Like, you get those comments from time to time, but you know what? When I show up somewhere where I don't see people all the time, they immediately have some sort of connection that they know something that they can come up and feel comfortable talking to me about something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You brought up Cybertruck. Yeah, I got a Cybertruck, and it's the most awesome thing ever. That's a very polarizing vehicle, but it gives you something to talk about. And a lot of people are, by the way, not afraid to share their absolute disgust for the truck. And that like, and that's cool. And it actually makes me like it more. So share how much you hate it. That's fine. But like, I think that the more that we're able to put out there and share about our own lives, not in a super annoying way, but just like documenting your life and being able to put it out there gives people the invitation to like make a comment to you, right? Because I know, like, let's just take like at a conference for you and I, right? We're at a conference and there's a networking event. And by the way, I absolutely detest networking events, like the happy hours and just like, because I think, and I'm seeing you shake your head because you also agree, and to an earlier point, that small talk, that nonsense, it just doesn't do it for you. It doesn't do it for me either. But it's a necessary evil because you got to get to meet new people. But it's hard. Like, if you're walking around and people are having a conversation, right? There's no one, like, you're like, okay, what should I do? Who should I talk to? It's like, oh, there's Eric. And I know he was just in the Smoky Mountains and went fishing or camping or hiking or whatever. I can come up to you and I can say, oh, dude, how was your camping trip?
Yeah, great
Right.
point.
And that allows people to do that, to invite you in. But also, like, you as on the opposite end, if you're consuming other people's content that you want to work with, or so if I'm a loan officer and I want to work with this realtor in town and I'm following them on social, when I see them at an event, or I can comment on their content about a home they have listed or about their dog that they're taking out for a walk, I now have a personal relationship with that individual that I can then leverage to get business with, right? And so the way that we coach this, and we is just put yourself out there as often as you can, and engage with other people who have put themselves out there as well, and the natural business will come from those conversations.
Do you find that there's a breaking point? Is there a metric that you found that this many times per week is too much?
I think it's interesting, Brandon. Everybody asks that. What's the amount of posts I should do every day? What's the best time of day I should post? And honestly, there is no magic formula. If you're listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, he says put out 100 pieces of content a day. That's totally unsustainable for absolutely everybody other than him, because he has a full content team that does nothing but chops up his content and posts it, right? But for you and I, where we're running businesses and trying to stay up there, and for a loan officer, a real estate agent, a sales manager, a recruiter, whoever it is, you have to figure out what is it that you can absolutely commit to on a weekly basis that becomes a non-negotiable that you can continually and consistently do. And that's the number of times you should post a week, because above all else is that consistency that's key. And if you treat your social media like a business tool, like any kind of sales methodology that you have, whether that's writing emails, making phone calls, sending texts or DMs, putting out your social content is another tool in that toolkit that you need to be doing on a regular basis. So, Eric, I know you've coached people. I've been coached. I've coached other folks. Like, when you get down to the art of like sales and selling, it's all about, okay, what am I going to do today? What are my non-negotiables that I'm always going to do every single day? And this is just one of them.
I love that little piece that you threw in there about kind of figuring out what works for you and just do that. Don't feel like you have to follow the Gary V, methodology or what somebody else is doing. Is there, well, I was thinking about something as you were talking, when video content first became a thing, which is probably a lot longer ago than I think it became a thing, because I'm sure I was a very late adopter. The don't make that face. I was definitely a late adopter. The now I don't think it's very unique, quite frankly. I don't think video content is unique. Now you might argue, okay, Eric, it's not unique, but the percentage of people that are actually doing it on a consistent basis actually is still unique. That's the outlier. But I also wonder, does it really matter? Because let's say it's not unique anymore. Like back in the day, picking up a phone and making a cold call, there was nothing unique about making the cold call. What was unique about what you did on that cold call. And so maybe we're starting to get into that a little bit, which is why I think people like you and your platform is so important, because those are the things that can help make the content and your approach unique, different than just the fact that you're doing it.
Oh yeah, you can't just do it and do nothing, right? That's a phenomenal comment. I do think that the way that you do it is equally as important as the amount that you do. And I think, there's two thoughts here. One, when I was in college, and I graduated in like 2005, right? So it's young guy, but I'm 40 years old now, right?
You're
But that's
super young. You're
that's a long
young,
time
because I'm not
ago.
old.
Yeah. That's a long time ago, right? Like, we're coming up on 20 years here. But I got my degree in advertising public relations. And the adage in the late 90s, early 2000s was, and this came from like Coca-Cola and like large brands, is that your message needed to be seen 7 times before any type of consumer knew you even existed.
I remember
right? That has been thrown out the door completely. You can't, that metric is gone. The latest one I saw, this was from a couple years ago, was that now that number is actually is over 30 times before they even know you, right? And I would assume that number is even higher now with how much more every year. It just like, it's a snowball effect, right? So in order for anybody to even like remember or recognize you, and this is the same, I mean, you think that we're like if you're a recruiter or you're a sales manager, probably a better approach. You're using Model Match. You're looking for all these individuals, top performing real estate agents, top performing loan officers. And you want to recruit them. You want to bring them onto the team. Like, you need to stay in front of them a buttload of times. And that's the technical term, boatload of times before they even will like you break through the noise of everybody else out there. And so I think about like a multi-medium approach. If you can be in front of people wherever they are, whether that's sending them a text message, a phone call, an email, a direct message, showing up on their social media feeds, on video, like you have to like be everywhere. You think about like Google Ads, one of the strongest ad methodology or plans that you can do is retargeting. Right. So someone's come onto your website, right. It kind of tracks them, and then you can just hit them up everywhere along the web. That's still one of their most profitable pieces here. Right. So on social, on video, to like going all the way back around to your thought process here is like, if you are just showing up one time, you might not even been seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you're consistently showing up and you're like, there's two aspects to this piece here, is you have to be seen so many times, but in order to even be shown, you have to put up so much stuff, right? You have to be constantly showing. You have to like almost prove yourself worthy to Instagram, to TikTok, to LinkedIn, that your content is worthy to be seen. And so when you're looking at that side, you're trying to game the algorithm and to be putting out content that people find valuable all along. And what your message is that you want to get across might not be what what Instagram or LinkedIn thinks is valuable. So you have to learn, what does your audience on social media, or just the general audience of social media, like? Do a lot of that to get the visibility, to be able to be at the top of the feed when people log on. And then every once in a while, pepper in more of a business message to talk about how great Model Match is. Right? You can't just always be saying we're the best software, we're way better than all these our competitors, we got this new tool, all these things. That if all you do is talk about that, it's never going to be shown, and you're going to say social media doesn't work for me. But if you put a whole bunch of memes up there and you like start, or you like, talking, or like people love memes, first of all, best thing you can ever do. And I love them, but something that works really well on social as well is when you're at these conferences is putting up pictures with multiple people, and allowing to be like, that's LinkedIn loves that stuff, right? Showing up, being live, tagging other people, like that's the kind of content you need to put out the most, is interacting with other industry people, and then every once in a while throwing up some of your own content. And that's how you really break through all that noise, because you have to prove to LinkedIn that it works, and then you can shove in the other stuff that you feel might be a little more self-serving.
Yeah, man. Okay. That was a 101. Fantastic. The 7 to 30 thing has my brain blown a little bit. So we might have to talk about that later. But you also just did something, though. I think you realize this, maybe, that is what scares people away from even doing it, because you just blew up my brain. Like, and I know these things, but I try not to think about the algorithm. I'm not trying to think about the perfect way to do it, because I know that I'm someone, there's certain things in my life I'm happy to constantly think about the perfect way to do something. Maybe it should be my video content, but it's not. And I think you gave me the advice a couple of years ago, which was just do something, and whatever that something is, be consistent with it. So if it's once a week, then do it once a week. If it's twice a week, do it twice a week. But don't do it once or twice and then disappear for 4 months, because that almost has the negative effect. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, after all of what you just said, though, the real takeaway is do something, be consistent, and then start to learn from it.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, perfection kills progress. So if you're worried about how great your content is, or you're just like, you need to feel like it needs to be perfect before you post it, you're not going to end up posting. And then what happens, like, just like you said, Eric, you feel like this happens, and it does. It legit happens. If you ghost the social platforms for a month, you have to earn that trust back again, that your content is worthwhile before they're going to show it again.
Which is the same thing with human nature, right? Like, if I don't, like, you and I are talking once a month and we're solving some stuff and figuring some, and then you disappear on me for 6 months, we don't just start back from where we were. Probably we have catch up to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've seen the tech, data, intelligence just really change and evolve so much over the years. Do you see that your users are utilizing data, market intelligence to do a better job of targeting their audience?
Oh, dude, yes. I actually, I'm glad you brought this up, and I want you to share a little bit about market intelligence, because you're the expert on that side. But I literally did. I was at the Mastermind conference last week, or 2 weeks ago, which is, by the way, phenomenal conference. Really cool group of people that are there. Just like, it's not your like total blowhards that show up to a lot. Like it was very, that maybe sounds bad, but like, it was people who genuinely want to grow their business, and who are performers that want to become ultra performers. And I thought that was like the best grouping of individuals that I've seen in quite some time. But I had the opportunity to share some thoughts on the stage about how to win on social media. And one of the things that we talked about was, how do you find new people that you want to connect with, right? Because I might, be just starting out, and I only have 150, 200 followers on my Instagram. How do I find people that I want to do business with? And I talked about the need for some market intelligence to know the people that you want to work with, right? Because sure, I could go on and see somebody who, like, a realtor that I want to work with, and they're great on social media, but they don't do any business. It's a waste of my time, right? You need a platform to be able to show you who are the realtors in your area that are actually doing business, that then you can go find, and then find them on social and start following them. So, I want to turn this around to you, actually, because I kind of pin marked this in my thoughts. Like, we need to talk about this before we even got on this call. Was, how are you teaching your loan officers, branch managers, et cetera, using like Pulse AI, right? How are we finding people that we actually want to do business with and not wasting our time with people who are not going to do anything?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was an evolution, right? You know, when we built Model Match was really just an LOS for business development. It
Yep.
was at the, you know, and I say LOS because our brains were very in line with how a loan tracks through the LOS. You have a prequal that's really just data. That's all a prequal is. I mean, it's not a loan yet. And then we, you know, we go through application, we get into processing, underwriting, clear to close, closing, funding, servicing. Well, when you think about a relationship with a human, whether it's a new referral partner, or maybe it's a loan officer you're trying to recruit, maybe it's an acquisition, the process is still very much the same. There has to be defined actions that you meet expectations along the way. You build trust in the early stages. You have either automated future tasks or tasks that you agree to. Once you actually partner with this person, you could sort of call them at the retention stage or the servicing stage if it was a loan. Some relationships fall apart at underwriting. You realize you're not good for each other, that this person needs something that you can't provide. Doesn't mean they're dead to you. It just means they're no longer at that stage. So you should treat them differently than you do
Right.
other opportunities that are tracking through the LOS. But what we found very quickly was that people were asking us, I don't know who to talk to.
Yeah.
Now, the old school me would say, what in the hell you mean you don't know who to talk to? Like, do I need to coach you on how to look at opportunities that are on the other side of a deal from the past and go make those phone calls to find new referral partners or even recruits for that matter? How to go to local events, I mean, all the old school sales stuff. But what I had to learn that you already knew because you are a tech guy, I had to become one, was that's not the answer to your user. Your answer isn't, let me teach you how to do the work. I need to provide an efficiency for you that can help you do the work in less time.
Right.
Right. So that's where the idea of the data and the market intelligence came from. We just started geeking out on it, though, and realized that this was a rabbit hole that went really, really deep. So you bring up Pulse AI, having data that you have to sort through to go find the opportunities is gold to you and me compared to back in the day when you had none of that. It was
Oh yeah.
basically, I mean, man, I remember plugging in a CD-ROM to figure out who were the people at certain companies. The second I plugged that the day I got the CD-ROM,
Gone.
the information was outdated. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's gold that we have all this data that you can filter, do the work, find the opportunities, focus on those opportunities. But originators want even more than that. They don't want to have to filter.
No.
So, okay, guess what? There's all kinds of data associated to your NMLS ID. Just plug your NMLS ID and we'll just curate it for you and show you the list that you should be staying on top of. So, and that rabbit hole is going to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. You get into transaction details, you get into property details and connections, you get into indirect relationships with people that maybe a referral partner that wasn't on a buy side transaction, but they were on the list side transaction, seeing how equity is changing in a particular market. I
Yeah.
mean, you really now, you are your own portfolio retention platform if you have the right data. You don't have to rely on a company to be the portfolio retention for you. So going back, okay, there's that you just asked me for, but going back now to your users, I'm curious if you notice, are they actually doing that? Or are they still throwing out, for the most part, maybe too wide of a net and not something that's more targeted that would actually create more efficiencies for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone throws a wide net, especially in today's market, right? You don't want, like, I think there's a concern to niche down so deep into one specific market that like prevents you from feeding your family. And that's a metric of the world in which we live in today with
Do you
the
think that's real, or not real that it's happening, real that you get better results from throwing out a wide net, or that it's driven by fear, which is what
I think
happens
it's
when we're in a difficult market?
I think it's driven by fear. And you know, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day that had this stat that really astounded me. They said 47% of loan officers and MLS registrations did not renew this year from last year. So there's been a 47% drop in the number of loan officers in the country, the entire country. So what does that mean, right? Yeah, cool. There's a lot less loans, and unfortunately less than 40 or 7%, right?
Yeah.
Drop, or I guess more than a 47% drop in loans. But though that many people exiting the business means you can still be the local expert. I think when you're the local expert, that's when you really win, because that's when people see, oh, this individual knows and understands our unique and specific areas. I think about areas like Chicago, where each different municipality has its own tax and other levy rates that can impact the overall cost of a home. Connecticut's the same way. Massachusetts, all these like interesting areas that have really, really unique area like specifics that have a major impact on the pricing and affordability and what you can actually buy as a home buyer. And so if I'm a loan officer in one of those areas, I want to say, hey, I get the specifics of how North Cook County works because I live, work, and do my things here.
Mhm.
And so this is where you need to have people that get it. And like then I can say, and I don't live in Chicago, by the way, but like I just know it's a really unique area. But I can then say, like, I am the expert in this area and I get the specific needs, and I can educate the people buying homes there that they need to be concerned about these types of things so that they'll want to work with me specifically.
And you can do the same thing for referral partners, right? So if you,
100%.
with data that we continue to curate that I'm get really excited about is that I can see what's actually trending in the particular market that I'm doing business with. And I can increase or decrease that radius and maybe then go to a referral partner and say, there's a real decrease in a particular product over the course of the last 6 months in this market, but we see a trend in a different direction that's coming. Let me show you how I can create value for you. Another side of that is and maybe it's just the business development brain, is that you're always looking for new opportunities, new referral partners, new customers, new opportunities. But the amount of wasted material on the floor is incredible, meaning you've already done the work to build a relationship with Joe Wilson.
Yeah.
Joe Wilson's the number one, or I don't know, top 10 agent in Cook County, you were just talking about. I get 6 units a year from Joe. We have a relationship. But are you really paying attention to how much business Joe's actually doing and where that business is going and what the product mix looks like? How much of it's
That's
being
huge.
mortgaged? And
Yeah.
because if I'm getting 5% of Joe's business, if I could just increase that to 10%, that's real. Those are real numbers. And a lot of times Joe doesn't even know that I can handle his FHA business because we never talked about it.
Isn't that wild? Or
Yeah.
non-QM, or like VA loans, or more 1 to 4 unit properties. Like that is value that these loan officers need to know, and having that served up to them is so incredibly valuable for their own business. Be able to take that data and do something with it. And I think that's the big power. And that's the thing that I think like you guys are doing super well, and where everyone gets excited about AI. The excitement around AI needs to be, what is going to be actionable information, right? That's what AI should really need to stand for. It's not artificial intelligence, like actionable information. What am I going to do with this data? Right. And so many people just serve up the data or give you what you need to do with it and allow you to figure it out from there. That's nonsense. Like, as humans, we want to be not just given the information, but what's my next step? What do I need to do with this? Right. And I think that's where I get really excited about, like, being able to do more with AI is like, what's the next step? And I think that's where exactly what you're talking about.
And there's always next step, and it never changes. I think you have that founder's mentality, right? Like you're always chasing stagnation, running away from stagnation. You can't just build a product and then say it's built. There's no summer break, right? I mean, and I think that's something that sometimes loan officers or this industry needs to be reminded, is there is always a next thing. The top 10% in this business are always reminding us of that, because they're pushing us to to do the next thing. They push you and Social Coach to do the next thing. They push us to do the next thing. If you listen to them, you know what should be on your product roadmap. Hey, I'm curious, give me, changing gears a little bit. What's some of the most creative content you've seen coming through Social Coach? Like, are there some users that stand out that just make you smile when you see their content?
Yeah, make me smile content. I'll give you two specific examples of things I really like. There's one guy, his name's Steven Triberg, and he does a lot of VA loans, and he does a lot of his videos from this like military scrapyard. So he'll be like shooting a video talking about VA loans or whatever from inside of like a World War II bomber plane, right?
I love
like
this guy already.
I mean, isn't that awesome? Like, it's just perfect. And he's a fun dude. He's got like a really cool personality, but like, he's not the kind of guy that you would expect to be doing this. And I think that's like that unexpected kind of mentality of like, oh my gosh, this guy's doing it. Like, this is awesome, right? And then doing it from the location where he's at, like it's kind of like a brain interceptor, right? Like, this is not the normal thing that I always see on social media. I think that's one of the things that is really awesome. That's why content, and maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but like it's really big on TikTok right now, and getting there on Instagram. But you'll be like doing something while you're talking, right? So I'll be like, like making some notes, or like building, playing with a Jenga set, or like, having a split screen, and this side's like a video of like cooking or something, while like over here I'm talking about it, like that kind of, like, our brains need to have this like visual stimulation to like feel comfortable to listen to what you're actually saying, versus just me standing here in front of this really cool board that I built. But like, like, so that's one. And the other one that really stands out to me a lot is when people include others in their videos. And there was this guy, Tim Pasquarella. He's up in Michigan, and Tim is the president of Ross Mortgage, but he's also an originator. Like, he's an originator, and he's running this company. But he does really phenomenal videos. But one of my favorites is when he does these little interviews with his daughter in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just put the phone like, on the corner, and like we're able to chop it up and do back and forth. But he's asking his daughter if she knows what, APR stands for. And it's cute, and it's fun, and it's different than what everyone else is doing. But I think, it blends that kind of personal and professional, and it's educational at the same time. And so I think those are two I really, really like.
No, I dig that. I've seen Tim's videos. He does a good job. He's very real. That's what I like about Tim, and what I see from him. Yeah. There is a flip side to that too, though, that I've noticed. I saw one recently, and it's somebody posting a video from a beautiful part of the world that's insanely expensive to get to and spend time in, and a post about something. And for me, maybe it's just me, that's like so far on the other end of the spectrum that you've lost me almost from the word go, unless you hurry up and tell me what it is going to create value for me. It's almost, there's a disconnect that then happens, versus the guy that's literally in the scrapyard shooting a video about something, or in his car with his daughter. There's risk to buying big yachts and then posting on your LinkedIn page about your yacht and how happy you are for the success of your company.
Especially in a time where it's not that easy for everybody, right? No, yeah. So that's right. There's definitely, some things that we'd recommend, don't recommend. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. Like, just be sensitive to what everyone's going through. I think that's really important. So
Social Coach has rolled out some cool features recently. I haven't used the teleprompter feature yet, but I've looked at it, and I have used it. I haven't posted with it yet because I'm not a teleprompter kind of guy. However, I think it's amazing, because for those that have a little bit of fear of what am I going to say, or how can I practice, what's what's next? What do you see coming next? Or can you give away some secret sauce on what's coming next?
Yeah, I think the teleprompter is really cool. And I just saw a stat the other day that like 30 to 35% of all videos that we're posting now, which by the way are tens of thousands a week, right? Like it's just like the number is getting staggering. Um, but are using the teleprompter. And the
Really?
interesting thing is they're not using it the whole time. And this is what I think is really cool is like sometimes you just need the help to get started, to get the words flowing, and then you can take it from there. Right.
Right.
And so I think that kind of hook aspect of it is really important. Like, what am I saying up front? And then like I'm good to go from there, right? It's like starting, you have a blank page, you're in college or in high school or whatever, and like that first sentence, that first paragraph's the hardest. And from there, it's easy. It's
Yeah.
like the blank sheet of paper is really hard. I think that gives a lot of people a lot of comfort in getting things started. From a future standpoint, I think, we're looking at ways like one of the cool things that we're doing right now is kind of actually back to what you're talking about is finding the right people to interact with and being able to serve up the content of people that you really want to work with so that you can engage with them easier in terms of like commenting, liking their posts in your own personal post feed of only the people you want to see versus having to see like absolutely everything, but also being able to communicate with them in other formats. So we're shooting all this video content, but let's be able to do other things with it than just put it in our feeds, right? Sending it via DM, text message, being able to access those videos for other types of communication. We're talking a couple different CRMs right now in ways to use those videos for like milestone communication. So I can see us even being in model match, right? Like, hey, it was great having a first conversation with you. Like I really enjoyed getting to talk with you. And, here are the 3 things that we covered and boom. Or like, or one that just gets automatically sent out after a couple weeks have gone by that we haven't had communication. Hey, was just thinking about you and like, would love to reconnect. Like, is there a time that you have? But being able to like, again, intercept the normality of what an email looks like with a piece of video content is really, really cool. So stay tuned. There's a lot more of that coming soon, but that's some stuff I'll share with you right now.
No, I have no doubt. I love that, you recognize that the lane that you're in and the value that you provide is part of the process. So which means you have to support what comes before that part of the process and what comes after that part of the process. And then I guess where your head is, how can Social Coach continue to be a part of that before process and after process, which makes
Yeah.
total sense.
We're super, super high level, the top of that sales funnel. How can we go a couple rungs down and help you throughout the process, help you come up with more ways to stay in better contact with people in the way that they're expecting to be communicated with today. I think that's the main thing for us is like, the average American spends 2.5 hours a day on social media. That number is increasing every couple months as people like rely on that even more. So how are you communicating with your borrowers? Like it used to be like, 10, 15 years ago when I was, I guess 15 years ago, I was getting the technology side of the business. I worked for Mortgage Bot and they were the pioneer of the online 1003. And I had a small bank in South Texas tell me that they didn't think the internet thing was going to stick around. Their consumers wanted to come into the office and meet with them in person. Well, we all know what happened there, right? And I know they have since adopted a kind of online application process, but we have to continually be evolving what we're doing as an organization, with mortgage company, bank, credit union, whatever, to adapt or adopt our ways of doing our business to meet the needs of the consumers of the day. And that is, always changing. And we need to be changing our mind and our processes to meet their needs, not ask them to meet ours.
Yeah, no, I one of the things I've learned and that I actually love about tech, because I'm not an engineer, I'm not a developer. Like I can have a vision, but somebody else has to go do the smart work, the brain work that it takes to actually go build it. But it's what I've learned that very quickly that I love, because this is where I don't think me personally will ever leave this side of the business, is that it never ends. I actually like that. I like the fact that it never ends. I like the fact that listening to your user proving to them that what you were a year ago is not what you are today. And oh, by the way, the business has evolved. So we're sort of meeting, what was it, Wayne Gretzky, that talked about, skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is. Well, you can skate too far, and that's a problem. You shoot too wide, or you stay stagnant and you go out of business. And I think that's where you and I have always gotten along, because we're constantly skating to where the puck is going. Is that
absolutely,
a drop the mic
dude?
Quote?
100%, dude. I think we should end on that. That was perfect. Skate to the puck, continually moving.
Skate to where the puck's going. Hey, Joe Wilson, is there anything else you want to talk about before we break?
No, dude. I'm sorry. I'm losing a little bit. I don't know what happened with my internet here, but it's kind of breaking up a little bit. But so I didn't quite get your question. Can you repeat it?
No, I just said, is there anything else you want to talk about before we break? It's that awesome piece of art behind your head that's sucking up all the freaking Wi-Fi in your office.
That's exactly it. No, dude, just really appreciative of you and all that you're doing for the industry, for me personally as a buddy, but our company's working together. It's just a lot of fun, and thanks for letting me be on today.
Yeah, no sweat. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to kill this. But Joe, thanks for coming on the Walk Podcast. Social Coach, fantastic platform. If anybody's watching this and they don't know about it, well, check it out. And if you ever see Joe Wilson at an event, go grab him, because it's time well spent. Thanks for coming on the Walk, dude. My friend.
Yeah.